how could we support ex-offenders coming out more? That transition from in prison as soon as they're leaving, coming out into the world, like that point is the most pivotal, that, you know, it needs more support.
That was like a major question for me, just like who gets these second chances and what that second chance looks like.
Welcome to Shaping Freedom. These conversations are about how freedom is actually formed, what we inherit, what stops working, and the choices that change how we live and lead. I'm your host, Lisane Basquiat. I literally watched a movie in the middle of my workday today, and that is not something that I typically do. I had the opportunity to watch a film that I'm going to tell you about in a moment that I will be processing for quite some time. A beautiful film, an impactful film. I'm being joined today by filmmaker Rashad Frett, whose debut film, Ricky, took home the directing award at Sundance, and writer and producer Lin Que and Ayoung, whose work has been recognized from Tribeca to HBO. They're here to talk about this film, and what I'm really interested in is what this film actually reveals for us. Because when you look at it, what I realized really early on was that this isn't just about one person's story. This is a film that helps us to see how identity is shaped and how roles get assigned early on. I mean, there was so much to this film. And so as you all are listening to this conversation, I want you to hold this conversation and what we talk about as more than just a conversation about a film, but hold it as an opportunity to discover where you see yourself in the film, in the storyline, in the characters, in the families that are represented in this film, in the love, in the forgiveness, in the challenges that this film shows us, and what it might reveal about the patterns that are showing up in your own life. So I know that was a pretty lengthy opening, but second of all, I want to thank you all so much, Rashad and Lin Que, for taking time to chat with me today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
So we can unpack this beautiful piece of art that you two have created for us.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that. You know, that intro. You know, I'm still like processing. You know, the words, but it's, you know, I'm truly honored. We're truly honored. You know, that you know, it impacted you, and you know, you believe in it. To share it.
I do.
You're truly honored.
I do. Whose puppy is that?
I am so sorry.
Don't apologize. I'm like, okay, puppy, just say hello. Just get on and say hello, puppy.
Okay,
if you're
this is Sade.
Making all that noise.
That's Sade. I am sorry though. I first I want to thank you so much, because it's truly an honor for us to be here. And the reason why we made this film is so that people can feel, so that people can understand, so that people, to give voice to people like Ricky, to give voice to families of people like Ricky, so that the community, and this transcends our community, and where we can actually see that we live in a world where we need to kind of give voice to people that don't normally have a voice, that don't normally get the attention that they need. So that's partially, you know, why we did this film. And it's just a pleasure that you were able to kind of resonate with it. Like that's like why we did this.
And that shows up.
We grew up with people like Ricky. And I had the privilege of knowing people like Ricky, of knowing who they are, of seeing them day in and day out, not necessarily seeing whatever crime they committed, you know, seeing how they are with their family, seeing how they are with their moms, and seeing how. So it was just so important to try to give other people that opportunity to see a different side of what they see as ex-offenders and kind of try to dismantle that stigma that's around the whole word ex-offender.
When making Ricky, so it started from the short version, and we did that when we were in NYU. That was our thesis project. Well, at least Lin Que had a thesis project based on her life, and then Lin Que inspired me to write make another short film, and I was inspired to make a film about people that I saw in my community growing up in Hartford, Connecticut. The thing is, to add the other element is that people that I knew, like Ricky, they would do their time, come out, but then immigration would jump in and then ship them back to the Caribbean, where they haven't been for 20, 30 years. So they go down there, and that's a whole nother challenge in itself. So if you were to do like a Ricky Part 2, it would touch more on that. But we wanted to touch on just a lot of stuff that we seen growing up and have it feel as organic as possible.
It felt like you were boiling the ocean, but also keeping the waves kind of in their respective lanes enough for us to be able to process it. And I think that was really brilliantly done.
Wow.
Even the story, like later on, when we learn how Ricky, his mother, and his brother wind up being in a single parent household. And we learn about the fact that his father wound up getting deported when he was 13. And because he had overstayed his visa or whatever, and the timeliness of that, right? And the stories around that. And also we, talking about how a person's life starts to get defined for them until they become empowered and enough to be able to start to get into the driver's seat of it, right? So this kid at 13 years old, all of a sudden, his life becomes about what his father asked him to do, right? Like your parent leaves and the last thing that they say is, it's up to you to take care of this family and step in as me. But the kid's 13, and I'm not going to give away the whole movie, but just the complexity that you all were really able to bring into the characters and these people, these characters who, as you mentioned, Lin Que, can be anybody that we know. Right. So what I saw this film was yes, about a young man who was walking through reacclimation, I guess, to life after serving a prison sentence. It really is a metaphor for a lot of different situations, if you're able to see the film through that lens, through the lens of metaphor.
Yeah, that's 100%.
I want to also give a big shout out to, the cast, in meeting each and every one of them. We would have conversations with them, and every one of them knew somebody or experienced what Ricky went through, not personally, but in regards to, knowing somebody that went through that. And, Mrs. Ralph told us some, personal stories on, people that she knew, Stefan, in regards to, just talking about building the character, of people that he knew, and, us sharing, people that we knew, and, Titus, Mr. Torino, talking with him, everyone, knew someone or related to the story. And that's what helped to bring bring it to, the organic level that it did.
What were you trying to show people that people might otherwise miss?
Well, for one, Ricky isn't the only person that's going through the criminal justice system. And, what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a visceral feeling. We wanted to put the audience in the perspective of Ricky as much as possible. So it's kind of like, to feel what he's going through, even with the relationships and how he's navigating the relationships with each and every one, and, to show the support that he had around him. He had a lot of support around him, but was still struggling. And they were trying to, through the course of the film, try to, urge him to, step up to the plate and, be accountable for your actions. And, he's just trying to navigate that from the mind of a teenager, as an adult. And,
Right.
Stefan did that extremely well. Like even Mrs. Ralph, when, she was the parole officer, it was just like, there were times we were watching the monitor, and we were so drawn into it just by the interaction, that I forgot to yell cut at times.
I can see how.
But we really wanted to capture those moments, even with the dialogue. One of my methods with actors and non-actors, we had a lot of first-time actors in the film as well, and I love to work with non-actors and actors and mash them together. And it's scary when I do it, but when I'm in director mode, I always do that to myself. But the thing is, one of my notes that I give all of my actors is, I tell them, the script is just, you don't have to be married to everything on the page word for word. We just know what beats that we're going for. You are Ricky, you are, parole officer, and, we know what beats to hit, and, let it flow organically. So, we constantly got that out of the performances. It was just so many great moments that it was hard in post to decide, so it was good to have, a tribe like, Lin Que. I was calling Lin Que every 5 seconds. Or, our editor, shout out to Daisha Broadway. She's in LA, and she was editing, and, it was like the tribe was, it was definitely an upheave of, getting this film. But it was a lot of great perspective.
There was a moment in the film, and I had heard a couple of other people say this, where Ricky says that he didn't think that he would live that long. That was not the first time I've heard that personally.
Mm-hmm.
I heard someone else say that to me many years ago now. And this person was probably about the age that Ricky was at, about 30, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
And so that was a really profound statement that, for me, illustrated the state that a person has to be in to believe that about themselves and about their future. So that's not just a statement, that's part of that character's identity.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that particular line fits into the script for you, or if it's even fair to ask you this question, but What did you mean by that? Why was that line included in the script?
I remember talking to one of my friends when he came out, this is many, many moons ago. And he was like, yo, Shad, man, like when I seen in there, man, I didn't even think I was gonna make it out, man. I didn't think I was gonna be here talking to you right now, you know. And you know, I've never been to prison. I mean, I've been to prison in regards to, you know, being a documentarian, but I've never been in prison. And then, you know, to add to that, when we screened the film at the San Quentin Film Festival in the prison, and that experience right there, like literally,
Wow.
we were in San Quentin.
It's beautiful.
Like,
was it in its completed state?
I mean, it you know what it was? It's like seeing the people that's watching the film is the people we wrote it for. You know what I mean? Of course, them and their families, but it was in a place where, you know, the type of response we got back was like people coming up to such. One guy got up and said, "I am Ricky." And what's so crazy is that that's part of what we wanted to do. And especially it was Rashad's, that this whole concept of I am Ricky, because this notion that it's about trauma and how trauma can stunt our growth, no matter how old we are, no matter what color we are, no matter what gender we are. Trauma can stunt our growth. And a lot of people that have dealt with trauma, which is a lot of us, grow up, we look like we've grown, but so much of what's inside has been stunted because of things that we've been through. So it was incredible to be able to show this film at in a place where people really felt like, oh wow, like you understand, like you were able to capture something that, so it was extremely moving. It was extremely moving.
Yeah.
And to be fair, to add to that, and even what the dog just agreed. She
the dog is just in the conversation. You're just gonna have to accept it and move on, because the more annoyed you get, the louder that puppy is gotten.
I am trying, y'all. I am.
Just don't try. Just stop trying. Just leave that puppy alone, because that puppy. That puppy is like, listen, I'm in this. I've been listening to these conversations and I got something to say. Okay.
Oh my God.
But, you know, like, you know, so I remember it vividly. I remember we're all sitting in, because they turned the chapel into the theater, right? And we're all sitting together. Mrs. Ralph was sitting next to me, and you know, while we're watching the film, and in my mind, I'm like, if we didn't do this right, or we cooked, because we're literally like in the front row, and the entire, how many inmates were in there? Like at least 60, 70. It was, yeah. So it was like, if we
that's bold to go in, you know, to go there and show them the film, because there you'd know for sure whether you got it 100%. Or not. Yeah.
1000%. Yeah.
Extremely, extremely nervous, but it was a high honor. And, you know, when they started giving us, I'm not sure if you remember, we were watching the film, and at some point, they started giving us like all their snacks, but they kept coming with snacks. Remember that? And they,
I remember that.
They appreciated it.
They gave Miss Ralph like 8 waters.
It was and it just like you hear the bags of chips just keep coming, and I was like, man, like that's an honor. Like I was like, man, I'm honored, because you know, if you know, and you know, afterwards, you know, a lot of people came up to us, and the thing is, we kind of had to wrap it up because they had to go lockdown for the night. So it was kind of like some people really wanted to, you know,
to say something. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And it was just like the experience. It was like, this is what we're doing it for. These are who we're doing it for, you know.
You gave them the moment that Miss Ralph gave to the main character. That moment of like, I see you.
Wow.
I see you. That's what you gave them.
Wow.
And that's why they gave you what they had.
Wow. Wow. That's deep. That is deep. I didn't even make that correlation, but thank you so much for that.
We talk a lot about the legacy that we want to leave, but what about the one that we're living in right now? I'm Lisane Basquiat. I'm a board-certified NLP expert and a legacy healing strategist. I created Shaping Freedom to help our community move from autopilot to authority. Whether it's through my podcast, the Lounging with Lisane meditations, or our signature candles and journals, I provide the elite tools that you need to heal and to lead your family more effectively. Own your evolution. Visit shapingfreedom.com. That's shapingfreedom.com. So I know that you all decided, through your thesis that you were going to create this project together. When was there a moment where you knew that you were onto something?
I tell you when we realized that we were onto something. When Spike gave us funding.
There you go. When Spike is like, you know what, y'all onto something. Yeah, tell that story.
Yep.
Wow.
Spike gave us funding for the short. And
shout out to Spike Lee.
Shout out to Professor Lee. Mentor.
And
that's
then,
right.
And then because I waited to graduate another year while we were trying to navigate COVID, Kerry Fukunaga came on as well. He started a grant, and like while we were waiting, and because I had all the material, because we were waiting, I was like, let me just submit, and because and ended up winning the grant, for this and both of them helped out so much, and that's when I realized that it just started evolving to something bigger than I anticipated to be, and then then Sundance caught wind of it. Shout out to Sundance, who's extremely champions, major Sundance. William Morris, my agent, everyone, friends, family, NYU, Lin Que. It was just like the way it came together. Like I really didn't see it coming. Like when I first wrote the script, I wasn't like, okay, let's write the short to make a feature. I was like, let's just make the short so I can graduate.
So you can get a good grade.
Graduate.
Yeah.
Literally just took off like beyond.
Like a bullet train. It's like we
yeah, it's like I was trying to.
It's not done.
Right.
It's not done. What did pulling, and I want to talk more about the film itself without giving stuff away, because I really want to be like, let me get a cup of tea. Let's sit down and unpack this. But we can't do that. Lisane, control yourself, girl. So what I'd love to know is, what was the big question that you wanted, if you had one, that you wanted this film to answer or to ask?
We had a lot of questions that we wanted this film to ask, but one of the questions for me is, how could we support ex-offenders coming out more? I've worked with, a lot of organizations, and what was told to me was that, there's organizations that's helping ex-offenders once they're out, and depending on which prison, because every prison is different. There's some prisons where they have a lot of great programs and stuff inside, but from what I've heard is they need to be more of that transition from in prison, as soon as they're leaving, coming out into the world, like that point is the most pivotal that, you know, it needs more support for. So that's kind of like the question that I wanted to ask the film.
I know for me, the question that really kind of moved me the most is who gets second chances? Who?
Mm.
You know, and what that second chance looks like. And I think that was very important for me when Rashad had asked whether or not if I was down to write with him, and that was such a privilege. And you know, Rashad is a great filmmaker, so, and he's a great human before a filmmaker. You know what I'm saying? Because so I could work with him on anything because we just click like that without even thinking about art. You know, but that was like a major question for me, just like who gets these second chances, you know, and why.
That was the question I was actually going to ask next, which was how can you help kind of bring us into your collaborative creative process?
Yeah, you know, it's organic. It's like kind of like, you know, when we come together, it's like the Wonder Twins. Like literally,
he always says that.
Nah, seriously, I tell you,
he does. He's like Wonder Twin power.
Yeah,
activate.
Yeah,
well, you activated for sure, for sure.
I'm gonna tell you, we first met. I just got accepted in NYU back in 2016, and I was shadowing Casey Lemon's class. Lin Que was in Casey Lemon's class, and Lin Que was a year ahead of me at NYU. So, you know, I think they were showing their spring narrative. The spring narratives, and
yes,
I met Lin Que, I met Santanish, and 2K,
Kevin,
yep, Kevin, and that, and it just like we just clicked immediately, you know. And you know, that was 10 years now, but it felt like,
wow,
yes, 10 years, yep. And it felt like I knew Lin Que like decades, you know. We just like, and the thing is, we're so much alike that is like,
it's kind of crazy,
you know. Yeah,
but we're also different where we can also complement each other in that way. You know what I mean? Especially as collaborators with writing. And we just, whether it doesn't even have to be like, I could be working on my project, he could be working on his project, we could be working together. We always kind of spitball, you know, because I think in the industry, I don't even say in the industry, I think it's important to me, you know, that artists are around other artists because it's a whole different plight that we have. It's so important. And Rashad has been that for me. Like he has talked me off the ledge plenty of times. Plenty times.
Likewise.
You know?
like so, we all know, like the life of an artist is not like, there's many times, and I'll make it PG. There's many times from the outside it looks like this, but you know, from the inside, I'm calling you numerous times just over the years. It's just like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? And it's more, you know, and it's just like,
vice versa.
You know, it's just like, you know, but then it's like, it seems like it was a calling. Like it's beyond me. Like as many times as I tried to shy away. So I give you guys a quick personal story. So back in 2014, I was at a crossroad in my life where I was just like, you know, I loved the arts, but it was, I kind of plateaued, you know, and I'm a distant relative of Cicely Tyson, right? And I've always wanted to meet her. I didn't get to meet her, unfortunately. So I had finished doing, I was in Brooklyn doing a photo shoot. I was photography. I was, you know, doing a photo shoot. And Cicely Tyson was on Oprah's masterclass. I think it was like March or April. It was around that time. And so we're in between setups for the photo shoot. And so I'm watching it, and I've never saw masterclass before. And literally, I'm watching it, and I kid you not, Miss Cicely she was talking directly to me, like to the point, like I broke down. The shit, the model, she didn't see it because I kind of like, when she came back, I kind of like, but it was like literally like, when you put things, like you question things, and then the universe just make it like, this is your path.
Mhm.
That literally what happened to me that year. And then that's when it was like,
Wow.
it was just like, all right, this is the pivot. And, from there, and I wanted to thank her, but I wasn't able to, unfortunately. But, that moment, really affected me and changed the trajectory of my path.
This film feels like a movement. It feels like there's a message in it, but it feels like a movement. It's one of these films that opens a door. And maybe it started with, I don't know, a thought or a person that you met that, eventually became part of a component of the character that we witness on the screen. But it feels like a movement, and it also feels like good medicine for where we are now.
Wow.
If we're able to look at it again as a metaphor. Because there are some people who will see something and say, oh, well, that's not for me because, I don't know anyone who's been to prison, or I don't know that, or I'm, a person who's not of color, whatever the thing is that we believe separates us. But there's so much in this film that speaks to the human experience, even down to the neighbor, the guy, the Marine, the ex-Marine, Torino, and his role in the film that really comes down to the experience that a person who's been in the military and who has the interactions with people outside of what we deem in this country as like, the divisions that we deem in this country. But at the end of the day, this man is in relationship, in deep, intimate relationship with people that don't necessarily look like him, but that share heartbeat. And for him to be able to step into, even if it's for a moment, that role of father and guide and mentor, and so again, it is a film about a topic, but it covers so much, like so much. And bravo to you too, and to whatever that is, that has brought you all here, that you said yes to along the way, that has allowed you two to be the shepherds of this movement. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, trying to take it in, man. I'm trying to take it in. Thank you so much.
Can we talk about the mother for a moment?
Sure.
There was so much about the mother as well, right? And the complexity of her, the way she shows up, and the things that she's dealing with, from a survival place in many ways. What did you want for the mother?
First off, I actually know that woman, that mother. I've seen that mother countless amount of times, like too many, and, I wanted to capture that as vividly as I could recall, even like, the church meetings in the household, in the living room, wanted to capture her mindset of, not giving up on her child, regardless of, you know, how it looks on the outside, you know, calling out of work, you know, trying to chase down her son. Her son is a grown man, but she's doing what she has to do. You know, there's parts of my own life as a teenager. I was a good kid, but I was a troubled kid. My father was in and out. Well, he's mostly out of my life, but I never hated him. But I, you know, as an adult, you know, I understood him where he was in his life, and you know, and it affected me in regards to using my art to cope with his absence. You know, and was lucky enough to have him in the film. He's the correctional officer escorting Ricky out.
Oh wow!
Mm-hmm. Now, and
shout out to Rashad's dad.
He's no longer here. He's no longer here. He passed a year after. Is you know, the thing is, we were supposed to shoot that scene a day before, and had we shot that scene a day before, he wouldn't been. He didn't want to. He loved working a lot, even though he was retired, and he didn't want to take the day off. But luckily, that day he had off Friday when they shipped the schedule, and he was able to do that. So we captured him. So that's when, you know, stuff like that happened.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And shout out to your dad.
Yes. Shout out to
And that seems part of
Yes. Yes.
You know, yes. For those of you who are on audio, go to the videos, because I'm just kind of moving my hands around. It's kind of part of the magic and the spiritual part of this film, the kind of the quilt.
Yeah. You know, to add to that, Lin Que, I remember you said you had a lot of deja vus. You and Sam. Sam is the shout out to Sam, the cinematographer.
Shout out to Sam. Shout out to Sam. You know what's crazy is that I was doing dream work when I was younger and did a lot of dream work. And what I was doing was I was writing down my dreams after I dreamed them. And what I realized is that maybe a year or something, sometimes even 5 years later, they would happen. So I would always say it was deja vu, but it's not really deja vu. It's just that I had dreamt this before. And I kept having that on set. And I was like, oh, Rashad, I don't know. This is going to be big, because for me, when I have that synchronicity happening, it's usually I'm in the right place at the right time. Like what's happening right now is on purpose. So that would happen a lot. But I wanted to kind of piggyback a little bit on the mother's character. I know for me, she was just very important because I'm a single mom raising a son and raising a Black son, and knowing what that is, and knowing that her child was put in prison at 15. And she has this other one that's young, that's home, that she has like hope she may see as a do-over. You know what I mean?
Yes, the hope for the son. Yeah.
And she's working hard, and she's a nurse, and she's trying to make ends meet, and she's been able to get this home, and here comes her son's home now, and she wants him to make the right moves and everything. But any mom knows that we can teach our children everything, but it comes to a point where they have to make their own mistakes and they have to learn from it. And it's like the earlier, the better. So by the time they hit adulthood, they already know, okay, I'm going to suffer the repercussions of this. I have to. So it was important to have this woman who was strong, that's been holding on to this strength for so long. But I think that goes, and that again transcends gender. You know, it doesn't matter. Anybody that's holding in that for so long, there are going to be breaks. And we get to witness this, and we get to kind of see what that looks like when two people are going through that break, because Ricky has that too. And he has every reason to have that too. So we tried to really hone in on what humanity, like really, and trying not to kind of take it, like have caricatures of what humanity looks like, but really what humanity is. And Rashad is like really good at directing that way where it feels like you're watching a documentary as opposed to a as opposed to a narrative kind of film, you know? So yeah, I just wanted to just speak on the mom a little bit.
Yeah. And also thinking about it, taking a step back and looking at, you're talking about an event that happened when this kid was 15 years old, within 2 years of his family's life being in the upheaval that happens when you lose a parent and a wife loses her husband and all that entails, and him being in the wrong place at the wrong time and, making a decision that was, that led to some pretty significant and serious consequences,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a story about a human, very human situation. And so when I was a kid, we used to have these things, and they were like these wooden things. My father bought them for me, and where it was like a little doll, and then there was like a thing. It looked like an egg, like a 2-piece, right? Where it looks like this, like a big thing, right? And it was kind of shaped a little bit like I don't know what you call them, shaped a little bit like it almost looks like a bowling pin, right? And then you take one open and there's a smaller one inside, and it's different layers. And that's kind of what Ricky's character seemed to be going through. So it's like when we first meet him, he is the small one inside of a big burly body, and then as he's having these different experiences and as he's having these different challenges that he gets hit up against, he's filling in that case.
Wow.
I don't know what you call him, but he's filling in that case so that he's really fully embodying the space. That's kind of how I saw him at the end, where he was like really, he's gone through these experiences and he's learned some things, along the way. And yeah.
That was phenomenal.
Because so often that's what we're doing in life and we don't know it, right? We're looking at a person and we're like, oh, well, we see eye to eye. You're grown, right? But the person you're really talking to is one of those smaller layers inside that hasn't fully broken out of, that their edge around certain things.
That is so true. That I literally had that conversation the other days. Just, people sometimes, people are just stuck at certain points in their life, especially, when you hear a certain song or see a certain image, it brings you back to a certain moment in time where it affected you in some ways. So no, that's for sure.
There's a moment in the film that I feel is so in line with what's happening in the world today, where we are in unprecedented chaos. Unprecedented. We're sitting here right now recording a conversation and all heck is jumping off everywhere about everything, right? And there was the scene where that really illustrates that, which is where the mom answers the phone and she goes from the chaos that's happening, like the parole officer's there and this is happening and that is happening. She's like, hello? Hello, yes. And I'm laughing at the absurdity of it. Because how true is that?
Especially just in, our community, is something that we're used to, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like, we're used to the chaos. We're used to, not having as much as then, but we take whatever we have and, make life of whatever little, I call it oxtail, oxtail, turn that into something that costs a lot of money now. And then, it's kind of like navigating that. And what's important is definitely having community to navigate that with. This is community right here that we could talk about stuff like that. Even being an artist, I could call Lin Que when I'm just not there. Growing up, it was like, oh, all you need to do is go pray, and you'll be fine. Or depending on other people may all smoke ganja or whatever. But or now what I love now is that more people, the like therapy is becoming more of a thing, like that's not so taboo to talk about in the Black community. Because I didn't know what I'm trying to find a therapist right now, but growing up, I had to just pray about it and I'll be fine and go to bed.
In my household, my father was Haitian, and it wasn't even the pray about it. It was like, go to bed, you're fine. Yeah. Go work hard.
Exactly.
What are you complaining about? What are you complaining about? You got, oh my gosh, what are you complaining about? You got food on.
Yeah.
At 18 years old, I came to this country, and I'm like, damn, I just want to be sad. Can I be sad?
That is good. That's all. Man.
That first generation experience, man. Wow.
Boy.
It's something.
Yeah.
One other little point of the film, and I'm trying very hard to be careful to not give a lot of it away. One of the things that I'm deeply interested in is language and the ways that we use language. And I have studied extensively neurolinguistic programming, because I know that it's through language that we program ourselves, that we get programmed, that we program other people. And it's the ways that we express what it is that's happened inside of us and what we want. And so there's Ricky makes a comment that so many people make, and I hear all the time. And I myself have been in the same state, the same position as his brother. When someone says the words, I got you. And I'm like, you ain't got me. What are you talking about? You ain't got nothing. You ain't got me in this situation. But the ways that we say that. And so I'm bringing that up because for a couple of reasons. One is the importance of language.
Right.
And the importance of really owning what we're saying and paying attention to what we're saying. And on the other flip side of it, I'm bringing it up because it's clear that when Ricky and people that Ricky represents, whoever they are, use those words, it's because it's aspirational. They want to be the person that says, I got you. And they want to mean it. And so I don't have anything else to say about that, but I wanted to bring it up.
I think that was, in putting this together, we wanted to definitely, incorporate that into the film, because, that's literally how it is. I've heard that so many times. And I have this saying, but it's kind of, how they say the pen is mightier than the sword.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the tongue is mightier than the sword, because whatever comes out your mouth could determine your, you know what I mean? You could say
life or death. Sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
You can take a person out.
Sure. Yeah, you could tell with a pen, you could be okay, right? But whatever comes out of your mouth could bring you here or there. And it's just like,
that's right.
We were really calculated and, and had that in mind when writing the script.
One, I took a course in college about sexism and linguistics. So it blew my mind, just understanding the language and how language, even the beginning of language and where language comes from and everything. So, but I also come from the hip hop era where, you know, my word is born. Like it mattered, like the things that come out of your mouth matters. It matters. And, you know, you guys are making me really think about that because I wonder how much that is prevalent right now. It is, I think it is within our community, but I wonder in the world how much that is with the rise of the internet, with the rise of social media. People just say, and it's just so crazy. But I'm hoping that I do know that we are in unprecedented times, and I do feel like, you know, often things that feel like a burst of flame is the rebirth of something.
We're in labor right now.
Oh yeah. The phoenix is rising. But that, you know, that we're in such a place now where people have to become conscious. They just have to become conscious of what's going on because they can't look away no more. They can't brush it under the rug no more. They can't, you know, I mean, they could if they wanted to, but there's so many of us that are not. You know what I mean? There's so many of us that are not. And I think that energy is the collective conscious. And I think that is a powerful thing. You know, words do have power. Words have power. I mean, whether you want to take it to quantum physics or just straight up linguistics, you know what I'm saying? Like words have power. And I think that, that's the power of writers as well. You know, that's the power of dialogue in this film. That's the power of body language in this film. And it's just a pleasure, honestly, for you to be able to see this in the way that you do. I know for me, I'm not going to speak for Rashad. It makes me feel like, oh God, like it is hitting the way we wanted it to. Because we can do all this and you know, everybody's going to get what they're going to get out of it. But to know that people are getting what we intended and much more, you know, things transcend the page. When you're a great director, things transcend the page. And that's what Rashad did. Things went beyond the page and turned and it just came to life, you know? So it's such a pleasure to be here and to hear your words, because it just makes me feel on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, wow, we did that. Like we did that.
For sure.
You didn't waste a word,
Wow.
a gesture, body language, time, space, scene,
Wow.
caricature. You didn't. It is so well done. And we don't know each other, but I will tell you, I would not say that. I would not say it if I didn't mean it. I would not say it if I didn't mean it. What you all
Appreciate
have done
you, sis.
is an incredible work, truly.
Thank you. I mean, it's
Thank you so much, sis.
compliment.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. How can we support you?
Yeah, you know, this is just one of many stories that we want to, you know, discuss in the world through art, through conversations. The film is coming out across the U.S. Starting next Friday, April 24th. You know,
April 24th, y'all. Ricky.
Definitely check it out. You know, definitely tell a friend, you know, it's just, this film is just, you know, is one tool to get us all. It's a lot of conversations that we need to have. And this film is a stepping stone to start having these conversations, for sure.
Yes. So how can we support and set this film up for its greatest success?
It's about getting the word out. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your cousin, take your child. It's so important, because to me, this does transcend. It transcends Ricky, really. You know what I mean? Because, you know, we didn't speak about his brother James. You know what I mean? Who had to be the man of the house then, and how he had to become the big brother then. We didn't speak about Jazz, Imani Lewis, like a young woman who has a baby herself, who's, you know, so it's like these mirrors, these mirrors that hopefully people are getting the reflection. And it's very important that everybody understands that Ricky is not just for ex-offenders. Ricky is not just for Black men. Ricky is not just for Black women. Ricky is for everybody. Because I think this is a human story. This is a human story. And in this day and time, this is so, it's not just about prison. It's about your rights as a human being, and I think that transcends everything. And I think a lot of people understand that right today, so it's about getting the word out, because I could be a great cook and have the best dish ever, but if nobody knows where my restaurant is, it's not going to get out there the way it needs to get out there. So you can follow social media, Ricky the Movie. You can spread the word. You can post Ricky. Rashad, you can talk about the actors, Stefan James, Cheryl Lee Ralph, Amani Lewis, Malik Johnson, Andreen. Everybody. Karen Chilton, Titus Weber, Sean Nelson. There's so much that you can come and get out of this film. If there's so much you can get out of this film, so it's the same way. It's so important not to judge Ricky by its cover. It's so important to do that when it comes to films. It's so important to do that when it comes to books. You get to actually get outside of your little hole and actually see something that may move you. And it's moving people. So come through, come check this film out. Contact us. We DM us, like, we get back to you. This means something to us. This is not just a movie to us. We could have did a movie about, whatever, to try to, rise to fame or some crazy. No, this means something to us. Like, we want this to start conversations. We want this to touch people. We want people to understand something about themselves, about somebody else, about humanity, about, so it's about spreading the word, I think, and just keep spreading the word.
Is there a real benefit to people seeing a movie the weekend that it comes out?
Always. It's like, unfortunately, we live in a time where, that's what they go by. That's what they go by. So if people go out and see the film, that's going to cause more theaters to open up and have it be more accessible to other people, to other communities, to have it all over the place. So that's the aim. That's the aim. And it has been done before. Films have started off, it's a different model that's happening now. And it's beautiful in a way where Rashad gets to, as creatives, gets to do this and have more control over it.
Yeah, again, like, to be fully transparent, as artists, we like, just like to talk about myself. I'm really, I'm a real chill person. I'm real calm. But when it comes to, when I'm focused on a story that matters, I change in the director mode, and it's kind of like I'm laser focused and I don't play around. So, Spike taught us to fight for your vision. There's been times we had to fight, like, constantly, and then, but during that fight, and time and process, gain perspective, so even me, myself, growing and learning my process as a director and just, the process of getting a film out there, which I still mentally I'm trying to catch up, because like, how the heck did we get to this point? I'm still catching up. Like, I'm still trying to.
You said yes. You said yes.
It's true.
That's how.
That is true.
So I'm gonna say it for you. We, as a community of human beings, love to get on the internet and talk about how much we got each other.
Boom.
I got you. I'm going tonight. I'm buying this thing tomorrow. I am going to ask you to hit the pause button for a second. Don't just jump out and say it. I want you to mean it. there's a film coming out on April 24th that is a must see. And it's a must see because it is healing, because it lays out for us what life looks like as we're making choices along the way. It's a film about a gentleman, a character who is going through an experience that takes him through a prison sentence. But it's more than that. It's so much more than that. And I encourage you that as you are having conversations within your family about legacy and about patterns that pass from one generation to the next, and when you're having conversations about what happens when young men are put in a position as boys to carry the burden of being a man of the house. It speaks to what happens to women when they are put in a position of having to raise young Black boys into manhood by themselves. It even speaks to what happens when you walk the planet having been built a certain way and you get rejected by the institutions that are there to help you and support you, the church. There's so much to this film. There's so much to this film. And I encourage you to truly have Lin Que and Rashad in this moment, and go and buy some tickets and go to the movies the weekend of the 24th and see this film. And then let's get online and talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sis. I appreciate you.
Rashad and Lin Que, this has been an extraordinary conversation and experience that I did not expect to have today, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
And again,
Thank
I
you.
don't stop. I literally moved meetings off my calendar so that I would have enough time to sit right here and watch this film. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did.
Honored.
Yes.
Completely honored.
Yeah. And I will do the same that I just asked everyone else to do. I will take myself to the movies and I will watch this film as well. So thank you for the generosity of your time. Thank you for this film. Thank you for sharing your creative spirit with the world. I'm pulling up a lawn chair to watch to see what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you for your blessings, sis, so much. Thank you for your time.